Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I thought it was about time I gave you a Blondie update. Bit of update on this young lady. So if you're new here, I've done another video all about this horse. She's 7, I bought her recently, and she would be what you'd class as a problem horse. I don't really like to call horses problem horses. They are only a problem because we are trying to do something with them. So I wanted to give you a little update with her and show you some of the things that we've been going through with her. It's not going very well, I suppose. Depends on what your term of well is. I'm learning a lot about her, which is very, very important. But it's not, I'm not like out jumping jumps or riding her at all, actually. We're doing a lot of what we're doing right now, which is just being in the same space together. She does a lot of this, which is nice and very important for her to have free time. She goes in the field every day, but I'm just, arena space has been quite negative for her in the past, so I'm just working on making it more positive. Hello, are you okay? Oh, bit of tree there. So we're not actively training at the moment. I don't know what I would be training her to do because she's not happy just in her own skin at present. She struggles with us touching her body. She's struggling with us doing anything much more than just turning her in and out. I have even been having problems picking her feet up, which actually makes total sense because when a horse does not feel safe, the last thing they're going to want to do is lift up a leg because that would make them unstable, feeling in their body, and generally not feeling very safe at all. So this is a video taken from the 7th of June, and what I will add is there will be clips in here that aren't in like a timeline, but you can see that she's very, very sensitive in her skin. She's very sensitive to me picking up a leg, which is who's picking my hand. I would like to pick her feet out if I've been out in the field, but she is very firmly saying no, and I'm trying to be very, very slow and very calm, but actually she is saying absolutely not. And she has the string on her neck, and I'll talk more about this in the next clip, but I had some training and this was what we were talking about, a way of kind of keeping ourselves safe with her but without having a head collar on as such. So I've had a lot of times with her when I have to really like change my expectation of what I'm about to be able to do. Like on this day, I realized I was going to have to stop trying to pick her feet out because I just needed to be present and be able to touch her. And I'm learning so much about myself in this because she makes me feel unsafe, and so then because I feel unsafe, she feels unsafe, and so she lashes out. So I'm just learning how to be with her in a very slow, calm way rather than her sort of forcing me out. You can see she just pushes into me, she just kind of pushes against me. There's no sort of boundary for her. This was a really, really hard session actually because we had been making much better progress, and I was a bit lost as to where this had come from, and I will talk more about where I think it's coming from and what we've then done about that later on in this video. But she doesn't want to be, look at her, she doesn't want to be dangerous or unkind. She just feels something so strongly in her, and it's just a reaction. And I find it very emotional. I stand here with her and I get sad because I don't know how to help her in that moment. I just feel desperate, and she doesn't know how to let me in. It's been really tough, and I really want to get to a place where this horse can trust me, and it's been a real journey, but I'll keep showing you and telling you about what we've been doing, because I believe that Blondie can help a lot of other horses and a lot of other people by me showing our journey together. Poor girl. And I'm just apologising to her because I wish I knew more at this point. So yeah, she does a lot of this. She kind of runs around, looks a bit anxious. Beautiful flying change. So I'll go back to telling you what we've been working on, and I had some training with a guy called Masterson Cook. Learning. We had a Zoom call. He's from America. And we spoke about how I need to work on myself in terms of being present and feeling calm and safe within myself, and that will then help her. We did some work with the rope halter because you may have seen on Instagram, I had a video that I posted where we even broke down to the point where I couldn't put the rope halter on. So this is that video, a longer version of it. The reel that I posted on Instagram has had millions of views, where people are so encapsulated by her. Sorry about the cockle in the background, he'll do that a lot through this video. But you can see that all I'm doing is coming to the door and approaching, and because of the squealy negative behaviour, I'm trying to keep myself safe by being outside the door, and also for her not to feel like I'm encroaching on her space. I find the fact that she comes and stands with me very interesting. You know, she wants to be part of this conversation, she just doesn't really know how to be yet, so I'm just really trying to take my time in this video and read her body language. Watching it back, I know that I miss some cues, and I'm sure that there will be some horsemanship aficionados on here that will tell me I'm doing it wrong. I'm just doing the best that I can do, and I'm doing the best that I can do with what I have at the time, and that's a really important thing to remember when we're at different points in our lives. You know, I'm just doing the best I can do. I'm trying to be kind, I'm trying to be slow. Here, this was good, I was able to stroke her with it and her accept that. I don't think she totally understands what it is that I'm wanting, but, you know, I've had to really throw my ego out the window and say I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to training or working with Blondie, because, well, I don't. I thought I did, and I haven't got a foggiest, really, and I've had to get help and seek different advice, and Warwick Schiller is somebody whose videos I've been watching and following, and he's somebody I listen to a lot on podcasts, so I feel pretty set when it comes to recommendations. So before you guys go and give me loads and say clicker training and all the rest of it, then please do respect the fact that I feel like I have got the right people helping me. I also am very averse to starting with food with her, because it's like a light switch and you just get this very pushy, very difficult to be around horse when you start using food, because she suddenly has no boundaries. As you saw in that previous video, she's already quite quick to kind of walk past me. But here, I know she wants to be better. She just doesn't know how to trust me, and as I go on in this video, you'll understand that, you know, the trust thing is really complicated for her. But yeah, this was a difficult day because I was going right back, listening to her first no, essentially. When she first said no was when I approached with the halter. So yeah, I'm learning a lot from her and learning a lot about horses and how to hear them really completely. So this is a video after the session that I had with Narshon. We broke the process down with the rope halter. So here is my piece of magic string, and it is just a piece of baling twine.
And so what he showed me to do was to A, open the door and be brave, and B, go to her and put the string on her body. And then if she was happy, to allow her to sort of offer her head through it as a loop. And the important thing was, in a horse's body they have a sling of muscle that runs like from the back of their tongue all the way through their neck and their shoulders. And you can see that when I apply some pressure at the base of her neck with the string, that encourages her to soften down and come back out of her sympathetic nervous system, like her fight or flight mode, and back into her parasympathetic nervous system, which is like her rest and digest. So this is what this piece of string is helping with. It's that connection back to her body, her connection back to me. I know this video is a bit off center, sorry about that. But I was also really being present in myself. You saw I just took a big sigh then. You see here I'm just applying a little bit of pressure again to the string to bring her back into focus. She's quite easily distracted away from her own self, and you can see that as she then comes back to me, gives me a little nip on the leg because she's kind of in conversation with me. This felt like such an enormous step, and you can see her reaction and attitude to the rope halter is totally different. She looks at it, she wants to interact with it. I rub her neck with it and then I take it away. And I felt like on this day I really was seeing her and hearing her, and watching it back now, you know, this is a while later, a good few weeks later, really starting to see some improvement. Like I say, these videos aren't in sync, and you'll notice in that first video I showed you where we were picking out her feet, or trying to, that she did have the piece of string. So that video actually came after this one, and this is why we've been on such a roller coaster, and why at the end of this video you will see the steps we have made to hopefully try to stop that such big roller coaster, because I came to realize that her hormones have been a huge contributor to what has been going on for Blondie. But you can see here, just putting the halter on was just fine and easy and happy, and this meant that then we can progress further than that. We can walk together, we can be together outside of her stable, and it felt great to be able to have the help from Narshon to get to this in such a positive, unforceful way. I haven't used food, I haven't had to do anything other than communicate with her, and that felt like an amazing step at the time. We've had regression, we've had progression, but on this day, this was really, really huge.
We made some really good progress there, and that is definitely much better now. We have got that really good connection, and you know, I can go to her and I can quite consistently put the head collar or the rope halter on. After that, it all gets still a bit stuck, and this is where we're really struggling, and I'm thinking that there is part of her that is hurting. I had a conversation with multiple vets now, and it's been a bit frustrating. None of them are kind of very willing to just start investigating. I think because we don't know everything about her, we don't know how her hormone cycle is going to regulate. It's quite difficult to know where to start in terms of investigation. So she came into season initially when I first had her for 3 weeks, and then came out of season for I think 14 days, then came into season for 5 days, so that's a more normal amount of time, out of season again for 17, into season again for another 5 or 6 days. So her cycle seems to be relatively regular. A horse's hormone cycle is different to a woman's. So women will run on 28 days ish. Horses run on 21 to 24 day cycles. So actually, the 17 days out of cycle, 5 days in, isn't that far off what her cycle should be doing. It's a bit short, as in she comes in season a bit more regularly than you would maybe think. But the issue comes with how she then is so changeable throughout her cycle. So initially, when she first was in cycle for 3 weeks, she was like a big dog. She was like this very shut down, very quiet, very loving horse. It's a bit cold this morning, sorry about me crossing my arms. But then The next cycle, she seemingly was actually no, the next cycle she was seemingly similar. So she pees a lot. You can't do very much with her. She walks around peeing. So like even just to be walked in from the field, she'll be walking along and she'll stop and she'll pee. Even if there are no other horses necessarily present, or it's just the horse that she's been out in the field with, which is Zora, my other mare. So it's very interesting sort of studying her body because it's not very obvious what the pattern is. Because then this time when she came into season, and when I say come into season, she is actively displaying signs of season. Now, this actually could be not relevant, and I've done a lot of reading about it, and there are sometimes you have to actually scan the mares or blood test the mares to know exactly when their cycle is. Now, this is complicated because she's so hard to approach. You wouldn't be able to just take a blood test, have the vet pop in and do a blood test because she'd flatten them, lie them on the ground and murder them because she's very needle shy. Yeah, I need some information. That's where I'm at now with her. And I very much feel like I am a bit lacking information at the moment. And I think this is, I train a lot of horses and I do work with like problem horses as such. And I tend to find that the most important thing is information. So making sure that I have information about their bodies, making sure I have information about their feeding, their diet, all of these things are so key. Now, obviously, I have complete control of this situation. I know what I'm feeding her and I know what is going on in terms of her, training, but I don't know what is going on in terms of her body. So the repro vet has suggested a few different things. And he is the guy that I want her to go and see. I want her to have her ovaries scanned. I want to have blood tests taken, and I want some discussion around some plan moving forward because I believe that the fact that her hormones seemingly make such a big shift in her persona throughout her cycle and that permanently she doesn't seem very comfortable around other horses in her own skin, it's something that I want to tick off the list. So that is one of the plans that is going to be taking place. I've rung them this morning actually to ask for a call back to have another discussion with him so that then we can make a plan because otherwise I just feel like this is just endless. But also another thing that's quite interesting was I spoke to another vet that I have used a lot of times now with sort of problem solving and investigative work. And she has suggested that Blondie started a bute trial. So last week we have started 2 bute a day to see if we see a change in her. Now, it's so hard to know because there's so much about her that seems still the same, but there is some things that maybe are better, but then there are some things that are definitely worse. We haven't even been able to groom her in her stable. She's gone back to this very defensive, squealing at us, swishing, kicking out feeling, and nothing seemingly has changed. There is a lot to be said for us not trusting her and then her not trusting us. Because a few times I have gone to her stable to pick her feet out and she has then squealed at me and thrown a leg at me. You don't want to be around a horse like that. But then because you don't want to be around her, you go into the stable feeling unsafe. And so then she gets that unsafe feeling from you, so she doesn't know what you're going to do. Because in her past, when people have felt unsafe around her, they have been tough with her. Because it is the go-to for a human being. When we feel scared, aggression comes next. It's pretty standard. It either comes fear, shutdown, or fear, aggression. And it's quite rare for humans to become completely placid in that situation or shut down because they are trying to keep themselves safe. A horse throws its legs at you, the last thing you do is stand there and take a kicking. You would be volatile back, rightly or wrongly. So this is a long process, and I did think it would be simpler, and I did hope that through the groundwork that I know very well, I would be able to help her. but it would seem that we are a long way off that bit. I've had some good sessions where I've been able to do small bits. I'm doing a lot of meditating around her. I'm doing a lot of becoming.
And spending a lot of time since we've been using the piece of string to spend time loose with her in the arena, just bringing awareness into her body. And you can see here she's starting to feel much more able to start letting go and being more in her parasympathetic nervous system and learning how to be slow. And you'll see in this clip she kind of wanders off here. She, looks at the dog and disappears out of shot, and then actually she comes back. And as I was seeing more and more of this, and I'd really made some great progress, and you'll see in this video, I'll explain later on, I know I keep saying that, but things have digressed again and it's been really difficult, and I'm no doubt that's going to be how the process goes with Blondie, because progress is not linear and there are ups and downs. We're talking about, 7 years of her life that she has felt the way she feels. So being able to remind myself of these good moments is really important, actually, because I'm making this video a long time after these clips were filmed, and it's good to remember that there have been the good times too.
She's better to catch in the field. That side of things has completely subsided. So there was a period where you would go to the field to catch her and she would be very aggressive towards you because she felt like you were trying to take Zora away. It's almost like we're going through a lot of motions that she feels are necessary to kind of play out to make sure that she is safe, or that the other horse isn't going to be taken away. I just watch her and I wonder what's going on. I had someone come to talk to her when I first got her, but she didn't really come out with very much. She asked if we were going to jump again, and I said yes, if you'd like to. But there wasn't a huge amount said. And it wasn't sort of the magical piece in the puzzle I was hoping for. I have reached out to another communicator, and I have used communicators before, and they have been remarkable. And the further down the spiritual journey I get, the more I understand it, because I do believe that horses have a way of communicating with us that we don't even know about. Most of us, we're not on a level of awareness for it, and so there are people that are. And her name is Sarah, the lady, and she's been amazing before. And so I will share with you guys what she says. She just galloped, was just standing and then just bucked and galloped. This is what I'm doing. It's not really working, as in, I don't know what working is though, because we're just spending time letting her become softer in her body, letting her have time to show us her hormone cycle, letting her body start to re-regulate. We feed a feed called Equidiet, which is fat and fiber, but it really is just fat and fiber. There's nothing processed, there's no GM, there's no added this, added that. It is just omega as the fat, and then grass as the fiber. Are you okay? Having a wild time. Maybe I'll video her while I'm talking about what I'm feeding her. And it's very interesting because it allows their body to re-regulate from the inside. So it's like a reset for their gut. Are you getting on all right? Or are you feeling very anxious? So whenever she's bonkers today. Whenever I'm working with troubled horses or problems, I go back to nature in terms of their gut to help them with what's going on the inside, because that is where we can help them the most. Resetting the gut, resetting the nervous system through the gut, helping her find some consistency in her internal, at least. So yeah, we also, I'll tell you also about her supplements. We also are feeding her a couple of different supplements. So I've been feeding her a bespoke made Mare supplement from Premier Performance. We had her on the Sassy Mare, um, but because of the extremity, like, she's so extreme with her hormone cycle and how she seemingly is finding it very problematic to be in season. They very kindly offered to make a bespoke supplement that had sort of less volume but higher percentage of the active ingredients, which are chasteberry, raspberry leaf, um, those things that are very, hi sweetheart, known to be beneficial for hormones. And I think that it's definitely made a big shift for her. Things are less extreme, but you know I think this is potentially more complicated than that, and maybe there is a reason why, just through regulating her hormones, that it isn't enough to completely solve it. Her hormone cycle is a cycle now, as in it wasn't before. She came in season for 3 weeks, and that's not great. The repro vet did say that at the start of spring that can happen, that they have a very long season before, as they move into their estrus cycle, because horses have a 6 month on, 6 month off cycle, unlike us, who cycle every 28 days. They cycle for 6 months, and then they have this period of diestrus where they don't ovulate. I'm learning a lot about hormones, and I will help to try to share that with you guys. But I just hope that I can get her to a better place, because there's something about her. Everyone that sees her, everyone that watches her, they are encapsulated by her, and I am the same. I just find her intriguing, and I want to help her feel better. She's highly intelligent, and not saying they aren't all, but there's something extra here. So, yeah, I will take you along for the journey. I will do my best to share as much as I can, and yeah, see how we go. I'm going to go and put the halter on now and see if I can do some basic groundwork. Um, actually, maybe I'll go and do some stuff with her loose today now that the energy has come down a bit. Hi. A learning, a learning process with this one. And there's just no pressure. I'm just spending time with her, giving her time, letting her be a horse. And if I get to ride her again, I will. And if I don't, I won't. I don't know. I've really come to terms with that really peacefully. It's very, it's much easier than worrying about, oh, am I going to have to ride her or do this? Have I got to do that? I'm very lucky that that is not the case. So, yeah, you're a good girl. You're very good, aren't you? Okay, let's swap the camera around. So when I'm working with her loose like this, I always try and think about my breathing. Hi, can I scratch you? Carries a lot of tension behind her shoulders. All through here just feels so tight. So we do a lot of body work too with her. So she's been seeing my Masterson Method lady, Sam. So the Masterson Method is all about energy meridians and listening to the horse and allowing the horse to give what they can give rather than like clink clunk, pushing and shoving their body. And that work has been very beneficial for her. She has had some amazing releases, and sometimes when she'll let me, I can help her find that as well. So there's something called the bladder meridian, when it's an invisible line that runs all along from behind, over the eye from here up through the pole, across the top of the pole, and then down all the way down the neck. And as you run your fingers over it, it's tricky when they're loose because she can just stop, take herself away from me. When you run your fingers over it, you can start to communicate with their energy in their body, and sometimes if they are in tune with it, they will start to make releases. So as soon as I see a release, I just stay on the point where I get to. So this is about 3 inches back from her ears. You can see the licking and the chewing. This is a big release for her. And then I can keep going. And as soon as I see a blink, I just stop and I wait. And this is the first time actually she's allowed me back in to do this recently. So it's easier when you're in a stable and when you're not loose in the arena. But this is the kind of work that I've been doing with her, just checking in with her, seeing if I can touch her body, allowing her to accept me within her space. And then we go back up to the stable and then she goes back in the field. And that's kind of it. It's nothing very complicated at the moment. It's not training or anything formal. I'm not lunging her or putting a bridle on her. All she wears is a rope halter, a head collar, and a fly mask, and then she goes back in her house and has time to herself. I think this is what I'm really learning is important for her at the moment. Until I have some knowledge of what's going on, I don't feel like I can be, doing very much or asking very many questions of her. I don't feel like it would be very fair. Okay, I'm going to see if we can maybe round this up. Yeah, not a very groundbreaking update, but an update nonetheless. And I hope that you found it interesting and that you will stick around for the journey, because I hope, that I can help others with Blondie's journey.
So that is where we have been up to so far. We've had some help. We have amended her diet. We've been making sure that we're adding that supplementation to her diet to help regulate her hormones, which it has done. It has regulated them to a point where they are in a cycle. But it doesn't mean that then the behaviour around that cycle is okay, and it's very evident there is discomfort around that too. So, coming into season, she would become tetchy, and then out of season, after the 5 days, which is still quite a long time for a horse to be in season, she would be very untrusting again and not feeling happy. So it was at this point, despite having made some good progress and her feeling more trusting of us, I wanted to get the vet involved and start learning about her options when it came to her hormones. So we spoke with multiple vets, and our vet at home, we opted for the best option, that when she showed signs of being in season, I would take her to their vet practice, and because they have a stock, so it's like a safe kind of a restricted area that you can put a horse in so that you can treat them medically without them injuring you, because I was well aware that this wasn't going to be something that was easy. People who have owned her before have told me she's very needle shy, she's very difficult, she's very defensive, all of which I know just from having tried to pick her feet out. You can imagine if you're suddenly trying to poke a needle into her or scan her ovaries, that this was going to be something that wasn't just for the faint-hearted. So we travelled her up there, and she travelled quite well. She loaded really well. She went into the stocks absolutely fine. She was quite good to have have some sedation, intravenous sedation, and the vet was able to scan her ovaries and take a swab of the inside of her cervix quite easily. Quite easily, to check for if there is any infection or bacteria going on in there that shouldn't be there. Her ovaries are small, they are 4 centimeters in diameter, and one of her ovaries had a follicle that was as large as the ovary. And because of this, my vet concluded that that does mean that there would be hormone imbalance, because that isn't quite standard. It was kind of oversized considering the size of her ovaries. He also took the swab, and the results of that did come back negative. There was nothing on that shouldn't be there, so that was really positive. And so we went back home. So we have opted for her having a polymer marble. So it's made of plastic, like a very hard PMMA plastic. I'll put a picture of it here. And we went back to the vets on the Saturday. So we took her on we took her on the Saturday, sorry, and then we went back on the Wednesday, and she had that implanted. So it's not like a human IUD where that goes and sits in the oh my god, I don't want to get this wrong, in the fallopian, like blocking the fallopian tubes. It's not like that. It is a polymer marble that sits in her uterus, and essentially her body will think she is in the very early stages of pregnancy, and this basically allows her body to have a rest from the constant cycle of hormones that have been causing her discomfort and unhappiness, because she won't then ovulate again, and potentially the ovulation and that very large follicle forming is the source of the pain. It is a bit trial and error, this kind of thing, and we don't know whether it's going to help, but it's one of these situations where I've really felt like we need to start ticking some things off a list, or removing some triggers for this horse, so that we can start helping her feel more balanced, so that, in terms of her medical place, is where we're at. Unfortunately, when we went back to the vets the second time, it was quite a different story. She's, as I said before, very, very intelligent, and she totally knew what we were doing. She didn't really want to load to go there, and in fact a horsefly turned up at just the opportune moment and was bothering her on the ramp, so she loaded. I think it was the universe saying, come on Blondie, you've got to go and do this because it's the right thing to do. So we got her there, she went in the stocks again, fine, injecting her again was fine, but she had to have quite a lot of sedation, and that meant that she was very tricky to bring back home, because it took her a long time to come out from the sedation, and the whole thing was just a bit traumatizing, and we had to coerce her a bit onto the lorry. Like, we had to chase her a little bit, because she was just at a stalemate. She was saying, I'm absolutely not going, and I really didn't want to do that, but I really didn't feel like I was given a choice. I had to take her back home. She couldn't stay there. There was no harm to her, there was no physical contact with her body, but a bit of shooing from a distance had to go on, and unfortunately the fallout from that was pretty unhappy afterwards. She doesn't want to go on the horse box for a reason, but she didn't have any tools, and I've not been able to train that with her, because I can't get to that, because we're so far back in the journey together. We're just learning to trust each other, that it's been impossible. I couldn't start training her how I do with the other horses through the groundwork to learn how to load. So it was very, very hard, and I felt like it was just a necessary step, and that's why I chose that polymer marble rather than repetitive scanning, or there's a couple of other options that I was given, but this one felt like the least invasive. We've done that, it's done now. We don't have to feed her chemicals all the time through something like Regumate, and we don't have to have repeated vet visits, which are very triggering for her. So that's where we're at. We have regressed, I can't sugarcoat that. She has gone back to feeling very defensive, and I am needing to take my time again to build up her trust again. You know, she won't walk with me across the car park now. She's very upset about leaving Zora, and I think I'm going to have to do some work with just being around her again and start building up that trust again, because it's... So it really has all gone backwards. So this was just a couple of days ago, and you know, I'm really trying hard to be present in myself, to almost kind of come into a meditative state myself, practice breathing, and you can see I'm just moving around her, asking her to come with me. So I don't want to sort of pull her, but I walked to this point and then she just stops, and she just doesn't want to leave Zora behind. Well, she doesn't want to leave the barn of horses behind. You see, she's not really screaming at them or calling for them, but she's really not interested in going with me. You see, she just kind of finds something else to do and pulls off into the opposite direction. And I try to create a little bit of resistance on the rope, try to encourage her to kind of walk around and towards me, and there are times when she does, and we did have some really nice moments in this session, but you see she just kind of walks off the other way, and I'm trying to go towards that patch of the thing of shavings behind Ralph, and she just won't. And it was really interesting to really just read that no from her. You know, she's like, no, I won't go with you. And I'll skip forward a bit now. So at the moment, I'm just trying to read her signs. So you'll see in a moment that she just kind of wanders off towards the cars. So I just go with her. I'm not restricting her or stopping her. I just want to encourage her to move her feet with me. And I don't know what changed in this moment, and maybe watching it back now, I'll see it a bit more. But, you know, she just was sniffing my car, and generally we're trying to work it out. Sorry about the camera. It's with the Pivo. It's like an automated robot sort of thing that tracks the horse. It can track people too, but it's just tracking the horse, so it's a bit unsure as to where she is, basically. So something kind of made her jump there, and that is something, you know, she is very jumpy, very spooky. And then she did a big yawn, and then I did a big yawn, and she is getting better at like letting go quicker of those things, but it was nice to see, because it's the first time I've seen her yawning again. In some of the bodywork sessions and some of the sessions that I've spent in the arena with her, we have seen a lot of release and some really lovely moments of her wanting to be with me. So seeing her yawn again like that was really, really cool, but just doesn't feel quite how it did feel. It just feels a bit like we've gone back. Again, using that piece of string to bring some awareness back to her body, and again, the yawning. Watching this back now, it's making me want to yawn, so I have to stop myself. But that was as good as it got in this session. And I say as good as it got, like, that's not huge. That is really huge. And she's licking and slightly biting the car park here, which is interesting. But my intention is really important, and just learning how to just sort of hang out with her has been enormous, and it's something that both Warwick and Narshon talk about, being able to be present within ourselves with them. And something that Narshon said to me that was so relevant is, she doesn't know what you don't know about yourself. And I just think that it couldn't be more true. You know, she doesn't know what I don't already know. So if there are areas in my life that aren't perfect or aren't trusted or I don't feel safe within, then she is not going to feel safe within them either. So this is proving to be a different journey to the one that I thought it would be. It's proving to be the journey that, of course, it needs to be. So yeah, this session was very interesting and really showed up exactly where we are in the journey. I'll show you the end of the session now. So I got the girls to bring me her fly stuff, because I thought, oh, maybe I'll just put her fly rug on and then I'll take her to the field, and then I'll get one of the girls to bring Zora out so they can be going out together. So the fact that she would stand with me and allow me to do this is a good step, because initially this was troublesome for her. She just likes to smell everything, make sure that it is her rug. If you go and try and put someone else's rug on her, she's not impressed by that at all. This is actually a really good rug. It's a Rambo one, actually. It's got these long, dangly leg bits, and it's super lightweight. You can see through it. It's like a proper mesh. So she likes it because she hates horseflies, as I said about the loading. So yes, here I am putting a rug on. Maybe I'll speed this up a bit. And then off we go again. And she did actually think a bit more about coming with me. So here, a little bit of gentle pressure on the rope, and I move across her. I did a fantastic job with her fillet string, as you can see, and I do notice in a moment. Don't worry, I didn't turn her out like that. And so we get stuck. This was really frustrating because this had felt like a positive step, and she just didn't feel like she could go with me. And it's hard because I haven't done anything to make her really, I didn't do anything to make her not trust me, but just the fact I took her to the vets, obviously she had to have a procedure, and it's not consensual. She can't sign on the dotted line and say, yes, that's fine, I can do that. So, behaviorally, it is very hard. And here I'm just, gently trying to ask her to come with me, even just to go over to the grass to do some grazing. But for her, she said, no, I want to go back. I don't feel safe with you. And yeah, just any amount of pressure is not going to be what I have to go with. She needs to want to come with me, and I hope this is a reminder of how willing and how trusting our horses really are most of the time, because in these moments with a horse like her, they are not, she's not happy to come with me. So we're just waiting for Zora, essentially, by this point. And then Zora appears, and change is just instant. She feels safe with horses and not with humans, and that's where we're at. And hopefully now, thanks to her implant, we can start to see some consistency in her hormones, and then hopefully some consistency in her behaviour. So that's basically where we've got to.
I know this is going to be a quick process. I never thought it was. I definitely think that my ego had something to play when I bought her. But I am all for holding my hands up and saying that I don't know enough when it comes to working or training with Blondie. And I'm just going to learn until I do know enough. I am doing the best I can do, and that goes for everybody. We are all doing the best we can do with what we've currently got. I need more knowledge to be able to help her, and I am seeking that through others who have got that knowledge. As I said before, I'm not really coming on here asking for lots of recommendations. I've got some people that I'm working with. Claire, my coach, with the groundwork will play a big part, and as I said, Narshon, and then I'm watching Warwick Schiller's videos because it's very intuitive what they're talking about. It's very slow, and it's not, it's not clicker training, it's not food oriented. She's quite troublesome with food. You go with a treat and she's your absolute best friend, but she'll kind of run you over for the food, so it's very difficult, and I'm hesitant to go down that route. I do post more on my Instagram, and if you'd like to have a watch of some of the stuff I post on there, you can find me at Miri Hackett. But I am well aware that some of you guys only follow me on here, so here I am showing up for you lot. Thank you for watching this relatively long video, and I do hope that you enjoyed it and maybe can learn something from a horse like Blondie. I feel like there's probably more horses out there like her than we know. I do feel like a lot of her behaviour is from her, the way her life has been passed around, handed between person to person. I just really hope that I can help her feel better again. Thanks again for watching and for being here, and I'll see you guys for next time. Bye for now.